For every fan of Turnstile, you've got someone accusing you of ruining hardcore. Ever hear a critique that actually stung?
I have no interest in having any dialogue about anyone's opinion about anything that I'm doing.
Oh, we're so sorry to hear about your
Definition of hardcore music.
that passed away. He gets 5 big booms. Boom! Boom! Boom!
In an era where most hardcore bands tend to stay underground, one band from Baltimore paved their own way. They didn't water down their sound, they didn't chase trends, but somehow Turnstile broke into the mainstream. From chaotic DIY venues to Grammy nominations, Coachella shoutouts, arena tours, and festival headlining slots, and now their own visual album in theaters. They've managed to rewire what hardcore can be, and who it can reach. This is the story of how Turnstile became one of the most important bands in modern rock, and why their success matters now more than ever. This is the unexpected rise of Turnstile, right here on Common Revolt. My name is Tyler Common, you're watching Common Revolt, and in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the rise of Turnstile, and how a crew of kids from Baltimore grew into one of the most boundary-pushing bands in the world. I'll be walking through the band's roots, their breakout moments, their genre evolution, and talk about everything going down right now with their new album, Never Enough, that at the time of publishing this video was released only days ago. Turnstile broke the rules, rewrote the playbook, and their newest era is shaping up to be their most powerful yet. So let's get into it. If you haven't yet already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and keep watching for the unexpected rise of Turnstile, right here on Common Revolt. The story of Turnstile begins in the basements and DIY venues of Baltimore's hardcore punk scene. The group formed in 2010 when vocalist Brendan Yates, then drummer for the hardcore outfit Trapped Under Ice, decided he needed a new outlet. He teamed up with guitarist Brady Ebert and bassist Franz Lyons. Franz actually used to sell merch for Trapped Under Ice, in addition to drummer Daniel Fang, later adding guitarist Sean Cullen, who was soon replaced by Pat McCrory. The band played their first shows in places like the Charm City Art Space, an all-ages venue that served as a hub for Baltimore's punk and hardcore community. For drummer Daniel Fang, the place was sacred. He recalled being shoved to the ground during a mosh pit in high school, chipping a tooth in the process and leaving with a sense that he just discovered his people. That DIY communal energy would shape everything that Turnstile would become. Baltimore's hardcore scene was known for being tough and also inclusive. The city's music history, caught between the grime of New York and the political fire of DC, created an ecosystem that encouraged experimentation, diversity, and authenticity. From day one, Turnstile brought a different energy. Their early EPs like Pressure to Succeed from 2011 and Step to Rhythm in 2013 were raw and fast, but also full of bouncy grooves and unexpected hooks. The band didn't want to incite violence in their mosh pits, but they did want to make people move, and maybe even dance a little bit. And unlike many of their contemporaries, Turnstile avoided the hypermasculine posturing that plagued parts of hardcore. Their shows felt inclusive. Yates and Lyons were frequently airborne, jumping off drum risers and diving into the crowd, a trend that has continued the band's entire career. Turnstile brought a new meaning to stage presence. Even in the early 2010s, when Turnstile was still playing in VFW halls, there was a strong sense that they weren't just another hardcore band. They were trying to build something bigger, a feeling, a community, a sound that stretched beyond any single genre. Early on, Turnstile showed a hunger to push beyond hardcore's conventional limits. Their 2018 album, Time and Space, their major label debut on Roadrunner Records, you know, the same label that launched Slipknot and Nickelback, two of the biggest rock bands ever, hinted at how fearless they were in blending genres, and it even featured unexpected cameos like producer Diplo, and a brief funk interlude. At heart, Turnstile's music was still driven by punchy riffs and mosh-ready rhythms, but they made it clear that they weren't afraid to mix things up. By the time that their writing process began for what would become their 2021 album, Glow On, Turnstile was committed to breaking their own mold. The COVID-19 pandemic halted touring and gave the band an expanse of time to create in isolation. Instead of their usual routine of road testing songs live, the 5 members hunkered down together, channeling months of pent-up inspiration into writing. They eventually debriefed to a secluded studio in Tennessee to record Glow On, with producer Mike Elizondo, known for his work with a wide array of artists like 50 Cent, Eminem, 21 Pilots, and Jenny Lewis. Far from stifling them, the seclusion brought Turnstile closer together, empowering them to experiment in ways that they hadn't before. And with a producer like Elizondo at the helm of it all, to encourage them, the band stretched their songwriting without fear. The result was a breathless, genre-fluid collection of songs that still hit with hardcore fury, but explored a far wider emotional and sonic range than anything in their catalog up to that point. The album folded in elements of dream pop, R&B, and even a touch of samba and soul. Songs like Holiday and Mystery delivered the kind of chunky, youthful riffs that any punk kid could bang their head to. but also with bursts of bright hooks, funky percussion breaks, and airy synth melodies. Lyrically, Yates put all of his emotions on the line with Glow On. Years of personal growth and recent losses were poured into the songs. These more introspective, at times melancholy lyrics give Glow On an undercurrent of soul beneath the adrenaline. And this balance of emotion and aggression made the album hit that much harder. When Glow On dropped in August of 2021, it marked a turning point, not just for Turnstile, but for hardcore punk in general. The album slowly became a crossover phenomenon. It debuted at number 30 on the Billboard 200 and earned widespread acclaim, ending up on many year-end best album lists. And more historically, Turnstile found themselves with multiple Grammy nominations, which was unheard of for a hardcore band. Turnstile's post-Glow On victory lap saw them conquer spaces that hardcore bands previously only ever dreamed of. They went from playing VFW halls and DIY spaces to large clubs, festivals, and late-night TV. In 2022 and 2023, the band popped up everywhere: NPR's Tiny Desk, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and were booked high on the bill at major music festivals. They toured arenas with My Chemical Romance and secured a direct support slot on Blink-182's reunion tour. And remarkably, this mainstream breakthrough happened without Turnstile diluting their identity. The band simply presented Glow On's eclectic, hard-hitting songs with absolute conviction, and people responded. Along the way, Turnstile picked up celebrity admirers across genre lines, including pop stars like Demi Lovato, Billie Eilish, and Miguel. And for those that don't know, Paramore's Hayley Williams has been one of their biggest champions for their entire career. And the way that Glow On infused collaborations with artists like Blood Orange and Julian Baker, it only made sense that the band's cross-genre connections would continue. The New York Times even dubbed Turnstile as one of the most popular punk bands of their era. In just a few years, Turnstile turned what was once an underground subculture into a wide-open invitation. Glow On accomplished something really crazy. It became a gateway album for the entire hardcore genre, an album that ignited an entire new generation of fans who may have previously never listened to hardcore music. Rolling Stone further highlighted this, saying, "It got kids and even older listeners who had never heard of Minor Threat or Bad Brains to suddenly care about a hardcore band, simply because the music felt so fresh and exciting." Turnstile's secret was never to abandon the joyous communal core of hardcore, even as they blew up. And whether there were 200 or 10,000 people in the crowd, everyone lost their minds just the same. The pit had gotten bigger, but the feeling remained as intimate and eclectic as ever. Riding the wave of Glow On's success, Turnstile refused to play it safe. Instead, they doubled down on their experimental streak, while reaffirming their hardcore spirit that got them here. In an interview with the New York Times in May, the band revealed that their upcoming album, Never Enough, would be their boldest undertaking yet. Their bassist Franz even said that, "There's mad flavors on that record." A direct quote. He wasn't lying. To me, Never Enough feels like a kaleidoscope of styles, furthering what made Glow On so great, with tracks that could be classified as pop punk, pop soul, and even thrash metal. Far from shying away from their genre-blending reputation, they're embracing it fully. Despite the wide variety, the band insists that Never Enough is 100% Turnstile. Brendan Yates backed this up by saying, "The music we make is not necessarily defined by the sounds, it's defined by the people," emphasizing that whatever new sonic territory they visit, it's all rooted in the personality and chemistry of the band members. Turnstile has never been interested in repeating themselves for the sake of keeping hardcore purists happy. Elaborating on this further, Yates said, "Anytime you put out something new, you lose a bunch of people. You kind of just embrace it. And after Glow On brought in so many new fans, Never Enough may well challenge them. It's more melodic in places and even more extreme in others. But Turnstile is comfortable with that trade-off." One of the tracks on the album, Seeing Stars, features Paramore's Hayley Williams, who lends guest vocals in a crossover moment that feels organic given her history of supporting the band. Hayley has continued to praise Turnstile, saying that they have stayed true to where they've come from, never forgot any of that, but they aren't afraid to be ambitious and try different things. In her view, Turnstile can get as big as they want because the spirit of hardcore is in them, and I agree. The album arrived with a 14-song visual album directed by Yates and guitarist Pat McCrory, premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival. The band also added showings across the US due to demand. I went and saw it the night before the album came out, and it was incredible. I was seated at the top of the theater, and one of my favorite moments was looking a few rows ahead to see my friend Bryce and his 2-year-old son losing his mind excited in one of the front rows. It was so beautiful, it brought a tear to my eye. Turnstile is for the kids. Also, did you see those two kids stage diving at the band's comeback show in Baltimore? Even further proof that what I said is correct. That show drew more than 10,000 fans, a crowd made of punks, locals, teens, and families. The show was free and raised $50,000 for charity. What a monumental moment. And visually, Never Enough continues the color-drenched, emotionally expansive aesthetic they established during Glow On, which is why the fact that this 14-song visual album premiering in theaters made complete sense, and was one of the coolest things I've seen a rock band do in a long time. And through it all, the band remains grounded. Their new guitarist, Meg Mills, describes Turnstile as a vehicle for people to experience being themselves. That's true for fans, but especially true for the 5 people you see on stage. Turnstile didn't compromise to reach the mainstream. They just expanded the definition of what the mainstream could hold. They certainly didn't sell out. And to claim that they did just means you don't understand. They didn't leave hardcore behind. They took hardcore with them, dressed it in pastels, and bathed it in light, and showed a generation that rebellion can be radiant. If Never Enough proves anything, it's that the best hardcore band right now isn't just surviving the mainstream. They're remaking it. They've done it without sacrificing their soul, their community, or most importantly, their message. From basement shows to sold-out movie theater showings of their visual album to 10,000 fans screaming along with them in their hometown, they've shown what's possible when a band sticks to what matters and dares to dream a little larger. Once again, thank you for watching. You could have been anywhere on the internet watching anything at all, and you chose this video. And for that, I'm grateful. If you caught a screening of the visual album, saw the band perform this year, or plan to see them later this year at their new tour they just announced, or maybe you just discovered Turnstile for the first time, drop a comment down below. Let's talk about the future of this band because, honestly, they're not just shaping the scene anymore. They're shaping culture. Remember their collaboration with Converse? I mean, come on. And the next chapter has only just begun. My name is Tyler Common. This is Common Revolt. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like, all those good things. Let me know what band I should talk about next. We'll see you next time.